Hi, I'm Mark, and this is Valley View Retreat, our wonderful homestead here in the Sierra de las Nieves mountains in Andalucía in southern Spain. And this week's video is going to be about our Land Rover Discovery. Our Land Rover Discovery we brought with us from the UK on one of our trips over to see Laurie's mum. We brought her back here in 2006. The Land Rover Discovery itself is from 1993, I think. It's a fully automatic version, and in its heyday it was magnificent. It had leather seats and all kinds of wonderful things. It had English registration, so using it here would have meant changing over the registration to Spanish, changing the headlights, and you'd still end up with a Land Rover Discovery that was right-hand drive, had almost no value in Spain. So this is our Finca machine. It's basically our version of a tractor. So our driveway is a 1 and 3 gradient. It's like this. We're about 150 meters from our entrance road, which means that getting anything from water and fruit and vegetables, or shopping, or any furniture, whatever, down to the dome has to be done using some sort of a four-wheel drive machine, and this is what we use. So we've got this, and we've also got, if you can see that behind me, we've got 2 trailers. One of those trailers we use for firewood, so it can go to our firewood store, which is up at the top. We fill it up, bring it down here, use the firewood that's in it, and then go and get some more. And the Land Rover Discovery drags that up. The other trailer we use for furniture, heavy things like lots of water, whatever. We're moving from one place to another. The downside to having something like this tractor is that it lies for sometimes weeks without us actually using it. And when you live way out here in the boonies, you get visitors. And when I say visitors, what I mean is, I don't know if you can actually see down here where I'm pointing, a heap of almond nuts. So we get these bush rats, which live almost exclusively on almonds, and they will nest almost anywhere. They like cars and trucks, so they can get underneath the bonnet, they can get down into where the battery is kept, and they can bring in stores of these nuts during the summer, which they live on during the winter, and it gives them some shelter for the winter. Now, if you're using the car every day, it's not quite so bad, although over the years we've had probably €2,000 worth of damage that they've done to various cars, eating through wires, eating through the cooling system. It can be a nightmare. So you've got to try and leave the cars in as clear an area as possible. If possible, leave the bonnet up, although you've got to be careful that the sun doesn't shine inside, because that's a good way to rot through timing belts and distribution belts and rubber bits and pieces. And if none of that works, then in the end you've got no choice but to actually put traps down and try and at least cut them back a bit. Anyway, over the years, this wonderful machine has had some modifications. And the main reason I'm talking to you about this is that having a machine that's from the early 1990s has some benefits and some downsides. The main benefits are that there's very little of this car that was actually controlled by computer. So most of it is mechanical, and because it's mechanical, it's all repairable, and pretty much no matter what goes wrong with it, it can be fixed. So the first thing is to note that if you look at some of the plastics here, you'll see that that's been completely eaten by the rats, because during summer their water is their big thing. They're looking for some sort of water. Obviously the cooling system in this car, like all cars, runs on antifreeze, and antifreeze, if a dog or a cat drinks it, will kill them very quickly. However, it doesn't seem to kill rats. They seem to thrive on it. So over the years they've actually managed to eat through the entire, you can see in here, this little bit here, and there's more of it down there, they've eaten through the cooling system. So this is now completely air cooled. It's an air cooled system. As long as I run it for less than 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it's not a big issue. I just keep an eye on the temperature gauge. If it starts to go up, I switch it off, go away and do something else for 20 minutes, come back and it's fine. The other thing that they managed to eat through was the wiring for the sender pump for the diesel. And changing that would have cost me, well, €200 or something. So do you really need a sender pump? Well, it turns out you don't. So here in the back, I don't know if you can actually see that, there is an 8-litre water bottle. And in the 8-litre water bottle is the diesel. And I've got the outs and returns going into this, and it feeds the engine. So instead of using a fuel gauge, I just keep an eye on the 8-litre water bottle, and when it goes low, I fill that back up. And that will run, you know, depending on what it is that I'm doing, it can run the car for a week or more, that 8 litres, if I'm actually using it. One of the other things I did was I replaced, I don't know if you can see this, but the fuel lines, I replaced the fuel lines with clear fuel lines, which means that if they do actually eat into any of the rubber tubing that feeds the diesel to the engine, I can see the air bubbles in it straight away, so I know what the problem is, and I can go and find wherever that is and wrap it in tape or whatever. The other issue when you're not using it for long periods of time is that the battery dies. So what we've got is this, which is a little solar panel, and that little solar panel is permanently attached to the battery down here. So it keeps a trickle charge going into the battery, which means that the battery's always live. And it doesn't matter whether I leave it for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. If I come out, turn it on, it starts straight away, first time, every time. I can hook it up to the trailer, drag the trailer up and do whatever it is that needs to be done. Bring it back and leave it down for another few weeks without actually touching it. So at this stage it hasn't been started for 3 weeks. So let's see if I'm telling lies or not. Let the heaters warm up. And there you go. 3 weeks, starts without an issue. I've got this wonderful invention here, which is a refuse bag over the window in case it rains, because the rats ate through the wiring for the electric windows. So if you are buying one of these as a tractor, try and get it with manual winders. There's very little that they can do to mess those up for you. Having a vehicle like that is so important. Obviously you need the skills to be able to maintain it. It will still need oil changes and things like that. But having one that is not, that's old enough so that the vast majority of the systems are mechanical, means that with very few skills and very few tools you can keep it running indefinitely. As I say, it's now 2020. This is from 1993. It's getting on for 30 years old, and it still starts and runs fine. I know people who won't drive four-wheel drive if it's automatic, because they think that somehow or other it's not as good. You don't know what you're talking about. The system is designed so that it makes the right decisions in almost every situation, no matter how bad it's been here. And believe me, we've had it where you couldn't get a car out of here for 4 or 5 days. This thing has never gotten stuck. And I take that back. It's gotten stuck once. My beloved wife managed to actually ramp it so that all 4 wheels were off the ground at the same time, which is a very difficult thing to do, but you did manage to do it. And with a high lift jack, I managed to jack it up and just push it over so that I got 2 wheels onto the ground, and it drove off without any problems whatsoever. I can highly recommend the automatic version. This is the diesel version. I think it's the TDI3. I think so. Anyway, whatever, it's still working after nearly 30 years, and no matter what goes wrong, with some basic tools I seem to be able to get it to work. So well worth considering if you've got a Finca or a a homestead and a tractor isn't an option. This has 7 seats in it, which means that if we do get someone who isn't as mobile as we are, that getting down the drive and up the drive isn't a big deal either. So, and they've got some degree of comfort with it. So that's our Land Rover Discovery, our Finca Tractor. I hope this was of some interest to you, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.